Hello there, I'm Nafisa Latic. Great to have your company. Hotel Yugoslavia, an iconic hotel and Belgrade's cultural landmark, is now just part of the region's rich history. The biggest hotel in the Balkans was built at a time when the socialist country it was named after, Yugoslavia, was being created after the Second World War. It hosted many famous people, including Queen Elizabeth, Presidents Richard Nixon and Jimmy Carter, and even the famous astronaut Neil Armstrong. Well, the plan now is to build a new luxury hotel complex, and all that will remain from the building will be its central chandelier, one of the biggest in the world. But don't worry, the Across the Balkans team was one of the last camera crews to film the complex from inside before demolition kicked off. Katarina Petrovic reports.
In Belgrade, along the Danube, Hotel Yugoslavia stands, a vanishing monument of socialist Yugoslavia. Opened in 1969, it was a grand showcase of Yugoslav modernism where global leaders were hosted. Now its walls tell a different story as the battle over whether to preserve or destroy this icon reaches its climax. Today, it's not just a building in decay, it's a battleground for Belgrade's soul. Landmarks like the Museum of Contemporary Art and the Palace of Serbia surround the hotel in New Belgrade. Designed by Lavoslav Horvat, its location was part of Nikola Dobrović's master plan for the area, created by this renowned Yugoslav modernist architect.
On je, da kažem, svojom organizacijom i svojom funkcionalnom podelom i svim, da kažem, arhitektonskim vrednostima stao na najvišu lestvicu u suštini objekata koje mi posjedujemo i po kojem u suštini je i naša zemlja prepoznata u svetu i koji su u suštini na međunarodnom nivou priznati kao nešto posebno.
Step inside and it feels like a ghost of the past. The marble lobby is silent, velvet armchairs torn, and chandeliers cloaked in dust. The glamour didn't last. Scarred by NATO bombings in 1999, only parts of the hotel were repaired. By 2010, it was shattered, its interiors frozen in time. Behind me still stands Hotel Yugoslavia, a crumbling relic of Yugoslavia's golden age, now caught in the crossfire between preservation and progress. Its demolition is igniting fierce debate over what Belgrade should remember and what it's willing to erase. Now sold for $28 million, its fate is sealed, soon to be replaced by modern skyscrapers and the Ritz-Carlton. Critics argue the impending demolition will erase Belgrade's cultural identity, but developers promise progress. For residents, it's not just about losing a building once protected as a cultural monument. It's about losing an entire way of life.
Nijedna institucija, niko od predstavnika vlasti ne želi da dođe da čuje svoje građane. Ne želi da dođe da čuje naše probleme. Ovaj deo grada će postati elitno mesto stanovanja i elitnog poslovanja, što će automatski ceo grad dobiti jednu novu zonalnost, odnosno ovaj deo grada dobiti novu zonalnost koja će biti elitna zona stanovanja. Elitnu zonu stanovanja ljudi socijalnih klasa i grupa koji ovde žive neće moći da prate. S jedne strane će dobijati odjednom mnogo veće račune, jer se nalaze u nekoj elitnoj zoni stanovanja. Najugroženiji će biti upravo radničke, penzionerske porodice, ljudi koji ne mogu da prate novi trend visokih i ekskluzivnih načina življenja u ovom delu grada.
Developers argue the hotel is beyond saving. Yet in 2008, a group of architects was tasked with proving that it was possible to modernize the hotel while preserving its legacy.
Rekonstrukcija postojećeg objekta Hotela Jugoslavije je realno moguća. Znači, mi smo dokazali tim projektom iz 2008. godine upravo da je moguće, znači, povećati kapacitete tih soba načinom da se u stvari od dve sobe pretvori jedna hotelska jedinica. Takođe da se mogu instalacije provući kroz postojeće šahtove, da se, da kažem, spušteni plafoni, spratna visina i sve ono što je u postojećem stanju održivo rešenje je moguće i mi smo ga kreirali.
However, the project was halted in 2011. As wrecking crews prepare, some see progress while others see the final nail in the coffin for Belgrade's connection to its Yugoslav past.
Kada ovde budu nikli ogromni oblakoderi, bit će potrebno po našim proračunima, obzirom na stanove, oko 2300 novih parking mesta. Samo zamislite ta nova parking mesta u ovoj zoni, koja je posebna zona rekreacije, odmora i uživanja i opuštanja u sve stresnom i nefunkcionalnom gradu.
In a city caught between old and new, Hotel Yugoslavia remains a potent symbol, a grand dream turned into a haunting memory, now destined to vanish entirely. Many are asking, what do we lose when we replace history with glass towers? Katarina Petrović, Across the Balkans, Belgrade.
Let's cross now to Belgrade. An architect, Iskra Krstić, is an expert on Yugoslav heritage, and she joins us now. Perfect person to discuss issues about this hotel. First of all, Iskra, what kind of idea did Yugoslavia want to send by building a hotel like this one?
When we talk about this particular hotel, it's really important to notice the time that it was planned and built. It was firstly planned in 1948, but then planned again and directed in the period from 1960 to 1969. And throughout this period, Yugoslavia strived to achieve a very important position in international politics through the unallied movement. And also, this hotel and a lot of other buildings from this period embodied the universalist approach and the high modernity approach that was the characteristics of the epoch. So the loss of this hotel is a catastrophe not only for Belgrade, not only for Yugoslav heritage, but also for the world heritage.
So does this show, we've seen mixed reaction to the demolition of this hotel. Some, like you, think this is a big loss. Others maybe believe that it's better to use the building for something else, like luxury hotel that is planned now. But does all this narrative and divisions in opinions show how the region still struggles to reconcile its past with the future and modernity?
Well, this is just another example of the demolition of modernity in its physical embodiment and its ideas. For that matter, really important to stress that it was finished in the late 60s, just before all of the anti-modernism started in the early 70s, all of which, the consequences of which we are experiencing now.
Right. So what do you think that it should have been done with this hotel instead of completely demolishing it? How do you think this heritage could have been preserved?
It should have been left as a cultural heritage, for one. So in 2011, its status of cultural heritage was taken from it. And it's one of the examples from Serbia and the region in which we see that the institutions, the progressive institutions that had been built after the Second World War, are now being totally on their knees. So it should have been, in my opinion, protected, and the reconstruction that it might have needed in the sense of changing the materials that are now considered dangerous should have been done.
Looking at these visuals of the hotel inside, it was in a pretty bad condition. It looks like no one actually cared about this building, and then suddenly when it's being demolished, everyone's just talking about it. Talk us about the structure of the hotel itself. What's interesting for international audience to know about this hotel?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, it's one of the paradigmatic examples of the achievements of modernism in a moment when the technology was advanced enough to embody, let's say, the ideals that were forged before the Second World War and largely applied in the period after the Second World War, and applied in a very specific manner in Yugoslavia, since it at the same time had planned economy and partially market economy. Yugoslav architecture derives much from the architecture of Eastern Bloc, because it really wanted to, through its architecture and especially through its representative buildings like this one, to symbolize its closeness to the West and to the most progressive ideas at the time.
What does this hotel represent to you as an architect, as someone who is from Belgrade? When you hear Hotel Yugoslavia, what kind of thoughts do you have about the hotel itself? I know it's located on the banks of the river, and I know it's usually a place where young people come to hang out.
Young people come to hang out at the bank of the river because it's been a tradition of Belgrade as a Yugoslav city. So Belgrade, I think, grew mostly through two Yugoslavias. So in the 100 years after the First World War, throughout 1990, I think the number of its population grew by a dozen. So Belgrade itself is a Yugoslav city par excellence. And the way New Belgrade was planned, with Hotel Yugoslavia being a part of it from the beginning, from the early stages of its planning in 1948, was to really use all of the progressive ideals and techniques from the international architectural movement from between the two world wars, and to allow enough open space, to allow enough green space, to allow enough place for...
Right, and let me just briefly ask you, I don't have much time left, about the chandelier that is the biggest in the world, 40,000 Swarovski crystals. I guess this chandelier will be the only thing that will be preserved, and it will be used in the new hotel. What do you know about it and its construction?
Well, not so much, to tell the truth. This is symbolic of how today's economic system, with its focus on shiny things and its focus on spectacular things, perverts what is left of modernism.
Iskra Krstić, pleasure to have your insights on this topic. Thank you.
Thank you.